Hello, everyone, and welcome to Document Human Rights Film Festival and to today's masterclass with Iryna Tsilyk. I hope you've had a chance to watch The Earth is Blue as an Orange already, but if not, there's still time to do so on our streaming platform until Sunday, the 31st of January. We're really delighted to have this masterclass with Iryna and to be able to show The Earth is Blue as an Orange as part of our festival. We've heard about this film almost a year ago, and since then we've really wanted to be able to show it here in Scotland in some way or another, and we're happy to be able to do so this year. And we're also delighted to have Iryna as our guest today for the masterclass in partnership with Scottish Documentary Institute. Thank you for joining us here on Zoom or on YouTube. And if you have any questions or comments, you can post them in the chat here, or later in the session, you can unmute yourselves and ask away. Without further ado, I would like to hand over now to Noe Mendel, the director of SDI, and she will kickstart the conversation with Iryna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, and a very warm welcome, Iryna. It's kind of fantastic to have you here with us, even if it's kind of virtually. I think I can say we've never had a director from Ukraine before, so it's a double pleasure to discover kind of you as a director, but also filmmaking coming from your part of the world, which is still kind of underrepresented in on our screens. So welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to see you, and that's a big honor. And if it is possible, I wouldn't call this meeting the masterclass, since I'm not the master. I'm the beginning, and beginner, and my experience in filmmaking is quite modest. But I will be happy to share everything I can. So please ask me everything you want.
You are being extremely modest. For a beginner, you certainly kind of outdo kind of a lot of filmmakers who've been at it for many more years. So don't be so shy about kind of your capability. And if we had a say, we'd be calling it the mistress class, but it doesn't sound quite right in English. So, Iryna, tell us a little bit about how you got into filmmaking.
Um, I graduated from Kiev Institute of Theater, Cinematography and Television, and it was more than 16 years ago. And I've never worked on TV. My specialty was director of television, but I've never tried at least to try how does it work and what does it mean to be the director of television. And my first experience, some practice, was on the set of different commercial projects, because when I finished film school in Kiev, it was the period of stagnation in Ukrainian cinema, and we did not have any chances to do something, to shoot some films. And many people like me, we just chose some different ways, and we tried to do some other things. So I've started my experience in commercials as assistant to director, and I used to work on many projects, but then I realized that I really hate this commercial business. So I did not know what to do, and I did some, how to say, pause in my professional life, because I had 3 years of downshifting when I just left my life in a big city, and I have been living together with my husband in the village. But when I came back, something has changed in Ukrainian cinema industry, because we've got the new system of state pitchings for young directors. So I've applied, and then I've got the first chance to shoot the short fiction film, and I did several of them. And actually, my first experience in cinema was fiction, but later I realized that also that there is some other universe, some other world of documentary cinema, and I tried. How does it work? I've shot a few short documentary films, and later I've got a chance to shoot my debut full-length documentary film, The Earth is Blue as an Orange, and that's why I'm here with you today.
So why don't you show us, or Alex, kind of, an example of Irina's kind of early fiction?
Maybe I should say something before, because I have two excerpts from short fiction films. One of them was called Commemoration, that was my debut film. And when I've got funding from Ukrainian State Film Agency for this film, I remember my feeling. I was so happy that I have money to use some equipment like cranes and dolly and all that stuff, that me and cinematographer, we decided to use everything we can use. And now when I look back, I realize that some of these decisions were not how to say, weren't actually right, because the camera is just moving and moving in every shot. So later I changed my style, and my other film, which is called Home, it was done very simply, and the camera was we used just handheld camera and natural lighting. So maybe it's interesting to compare now these two films.
But isn't it also that when you start and when you've got all this technology at your disposal, in a way you think that will make the film, and it's only with a bit of experience that you start realizing that a good film is something else than technology.
Yes, that's true. But as I told before, I've started from commercials, and I saw these huge sets with many people and very cool equipment. And I thought that it's really important for the good image and all that kind of things. Yes, but later I changed my mind totally, because I prefer small crews and very simple decisions, at least at the moment. Maybe I will change again my opinion, but now I think that we don't need too many things to make a good movie.
Okay, let's have a look at it and then we can talk some more about it.
So shall we start with Commemoration, followed by Home? Or
Yes, please. Well,
Sorry, unmute.
uh-huh.
Yeah, apologies for the buffing.
But I just realized that I also need to explain something because these two pieces from both films and are important because these films are also about houses and the feeling of a home. And different critics told to me that I use the same topic, the same theme in my different films. For example, the image of a home as some place of heaven where you can hide and the whole world will be somewhere outside your house. And that is actually the same about my The Earth is Blue as an Orange. That's why it seems like I'm returning again and again to the same, I don't know, circles.
Well, it's exploring home under different circumstances because, of course, it's, the earth is blue as an orange. It's very, very different. You are talking about war, not just a home. But yes, it is interesting that there is an obsession, and in the first one, you've also got a child, which is also kind of, again, very much a presence in Earth is Blue. So interesting. But also, I mean, I felt both clips are kind of, very slick, kind of, technically, emotionally, especially the second one. I can't say that I was as pulled by the characters as I have been kind of, when watching The Earth is Blue. So there's a distance between you as a director and the actors, which is felt.
Hmm. Maybe I chose the wrong clips.
Maybe. So I think kind of doing beautifully with your lovely equipment and your lovely crew in fiction. How did you end up kind of shifting into documentary?
Um, when the war has started in Ukraine, it seems that many things have changed. And also, many filmmakers just grabbed their cameras and started to shoot all this reality around us. And I guess that Ukrainian documentary cinema has become much stronger in recent years. And I also decided to try something. And my first project was Cinema Almanac about women at war. It is called Invisible Battalion. And that was the almanac, which consists of 6 different stories about 6 very strong and interesting women, and I've done 2 of them. One of the stories was about combat paramedic. Her name is Tyra. Not her name, but her, how to say, name on the front.
Stage.
Yes, her nickname. And the other film was about the very special girl. He was a stormtrooper during this war, but she's so thin and so nice. And I was trying to imagine how did she manage to come through all that things. And actually, I have 2 teasers, and maybe it would be great to show you because you will have some, I don't know, you will understand something about my characters. I hope so.
Great. Let's have a look.
Війна це взагалі неправильно. Дуже великі втрати. Я відвідала за 3 роки тільки 2 могили побратимів з більше, ніж 130 чоловік. Я буду їх пам'ятати. Не хочу брехні, не хочу фальші. Хочу чистого дерева, як та була раса, чистої дошки, з якої все починається і все.
Yes, amazing characters, very, very powerful women. How much of the war well, let me rephrase that. Kind of, I mean, Kiev is far away from, the war zone. So, how much people are aware of the war in Kiev?
It's difficult to say because, that is the seventh year, almost the eighth year of war in Ukraine now. And of course, it has changed everything for many people, not only in the war zone, but in the other peaceful cities as well. But of course, people got tired of war, and it's impossible to live only. mm, I mean, many people around me, they just try to live fully and don't pay attention that the war is still going on. But it's really difficult to hide from it. And especially when you are the filmmaker or the writer, or you do some other things like that, because it's really impossible. um I chose this way because my whole life has changed, and also my family was somehow involved because my husband, he is a writer, but uh, he used to serve as a soldier in the Ukrainian army, so that was a very surreal period and experience in our family. And as to me, I've never been there as a military, but I was trying to come to the frontline zone from the very beginning, again and again, because of different reasons. First, I took part in different literary readings, since I'm the writer too. And then I've made a few short documentary films. Then I was shooting my full length documentary film. So, to be honest, I feel that I'm looking for some reasons to come there again and again. And I feel that it's really important to be the observer of all this reality, because we don't have many answers still. But maybe it's important to ask questions and to fix this reality here and now. And maybe one day we will look back and we will realize what has happened to all of us. But at the moment, we can do just simple things like filming or writing, or it, or some other things.
So, would you say filming women in the context of war and here, kind of, soldiers, um, was a bit of a radical kind of shift from what normally you would see on Ukraine TV or certainly on other documentaries kind of linked to Ukraine war?
Generally, that was such a big challenge for me because I was really scared. I met these very strong and very traumatized women because I found out that both of them they have PTSD even if they don't realize this. And I did not know how to work with them, how to find some proper keys to open this I don't know, worlds of the realities. So I remember myself, I was so confused and lost, and I was even crying sometimes because I didn't know how to make this. But you know, we had a goal to shoot these women and show them not only as a brave militaries that don't have any, I don't know, Achilles heels or uh, some. I mean, usually, if we are talking about Ukrainian television, they don't propose us that dark sides of the moon. I mean, the full images of what does it mean to be the person who is a military, who serves in the front line, and who is actually broken by all that circumstances. So we were trying, I mean, me and the other directors of this almanac, we were trying to be just sincere. And I guess this, I mean, we did it, but it
Yeah,
was very difficult, talking honestly.
I bet. So, just kind of, to move to the earth is blue as an orange, kind of, how did you come across kind of the characters? How did you start that project?
You know, we have very interesting project in Ukraine. It is called Yellow Bus, and different professional filmmakers, volunteers, arrange cinema camps for children in the war zone. And our Ukrainian producer, Anna Kapustina, she was one of the leaders of this project, and she considered to make a film about it. So first she invited me as a tutor and the guest to that camps, and that was a very interesting and special experience for me. And then she also proposed me to make a film. So we applied to Ukrainian State Film Agency, and we've got the funding, and we've started research. But later I also felt very confused because I met many different very interesting teenagers in that frontline cities, but I didn't know how to combine all these lines together and how to build the skeleton of the story using so many pieces of this puzzle. And I did not know what to do because that was the first time when I had to make a big film, the big movie. And then was a turning point of this journey because two of the girls that I've met in that cinema camps, they invited me and my crew to their family and to their hometown. It is called Krasnohorivka, and it's located in the red zone in the Donetsk region. So we came there and we met their mother, Hannah, and siblings. And when we saw this house full of cats and music and all these conversations about art and discussions and I don't know, everything, we immediately realized that maybe we need to change the idea and to observe only this family. So that was the right decision, I guess so. And we've spent 1 year of filming them, and we have been coming again and again. We have been living together with them. We were like a commune because we lived together, we cooked together, talked about everything, and also we were shooting the film.
Well, it's a wonderful family. Let's play the trailer just in case someone had not seen the film, which is a must. if you have.
Okay.
Сцена 1, кадр 1, рубль 1. Стоп. Влад, попробуй.
Не знаю, что. Ку-ку. Сильнее.
Мама, да, садись.
Все нормально, все живые, раненых.
Ну, так а дома разрушены.
Еще раз будет обстрел всех.
Как ты покажешь, что ты живешь 5-й год на войне? Как ты покажешь разбитый город?
Квадрокоптер тебе на, иди снимай все, что хочешь.
Нет.
Пошел.
Давай.
Только вы, конечно, были трохи
Будто
полегче.
мы тут евреев скрывали. Вот так это было.
Итак, все готовы?
Да, мы всегда готовы.
Свет! Камера! Начали!
So a fantastic kind of trailer who reflects kind of the film, but the mother, I mean, she's just an amazing. I mean, the entire family, of course, is amazing, but well led by this amazing woman again. It's impossible not to want to make a film about her and the family. So I'm not surprised that you kind of launch into that. But how did you actually kind of? I mean, why this passion for filmmaking in that family? Because they're fairly working class, I'm assuming.
These two girls, Miroslava and Nastya, they took part in cinema camps for teenagers few times. So they brought this new passion to cinema to their home. And what was the most impressive for me, that the mother, and she is a single mother of 4 kids, she also how to say, has involved into all that process, and she started to learn by herself from the internet what does it mean to edit films, to make scripts. So they were shooting some short videos all together. They were like a family film production, and they also used small boys as the actors. But to be honest, boys didn't really like this, but they didn't have the other chance how to skip it. So when we came there for the first time, I was just inspired by all that atmosphere of their house. But to be honest, I was not going to make the line of their filming like something, I don't know, like one of the main lines.
Mhm.
And I realized later that maybe this line of a film within a film could be some unique, or maybe could present these civilians who live in the war zone with some special perspective. But when we've started, we were just shooting everything, and I did not know what is my idea. And also, I was not smart enough to realize that the mother is the most interesting character, since I came there to shoot children, because I pitched my project as a project about children in the war zone. I was focused too much on them, but I was not shooting her. And later, when I started editing, And when I watched all this footage, I suddenly realized that Hannah, she's so incredible, and she's actually the center of everything in this house, and she's the director of her own life and of these short films that they are shooting all together. So I had a chance to shoot more, and
So does
we
that mean that you were filming and editing at the same time, or that was?
Yes, and that was the best that I could do to my project, because when you are not experienced enough and when you don't have a script, I mean, of course, you have something like a script from the very beginning, but it has changed few times during shootings. And I was really lucky that I had a chance to shoot and edit at the same time, because later we shot more and we had the chance to, how to say, to fill some gaps and to work on our mistakes. And also, workshops helped me a lot, since I've never studied for documentary filmmaker. So I did everything intuitively. And when different tutors told us their opinions about the footage, sometimes it was really useful for me and my team.
Mm. So, what would you say were the challenges of making this film?
The main challenge for me was actually shooting the real people, because they felt very open from the very beginning. They trusted us fully, and they felt very, I don't know, we just felt that we are already the members of this family, and they weren't pay any attention to the camera, and they uh, just had the freedom to do all the things that people do at home. But when you are the director, you realize that you have the power to tell actually different stories about the same people. And that was the big challenge for me, because when we are talking about some truth of documentary films, it is quite tricky, because I'm still the author of my film, and I choose what kind of truth can I propose to the viewers. I don't mean that I'm the liar who change some things and trying to cheat, but it depends on me. I mean, I choose the characters, I choose what am I shooting and how to use pieces in the editing room, and that is a big power. So I was really scared by this, because I didn't want to hurt my characters, and that was my first goal. But at the end of the day, I think they were really glad to watch the result. And
But
but
you've also got an interesting situation here where you've got Anna, kind of, the mom, who is also a very strong director and directing interpretation of their experience of war, and then you kind of, adding on a new interpretation, which doesn't clash with hers, but, somehow, it's like two directors on one set. How did you deal with that?
yes, that is the other moment, because again, when we've came to this house and when we met this family, they were just shooting some short clips, some short videos. But later, I guess they were inspired by us and by process of filming, and they also decided to shoot this short documentary film by themselves and about themselves. And it's like I'm not sure about this word in English, symbiosis. Yes, because we inspired them and they inspired us, but it was really difficult to keep the distance between them and us. And sometimes I wanted to give them some advices, or maybe I wanted to manipulate them somehow, but at the same time, I was realizing that I couldn't do like that. And actually, when I was talking about shooting the real people, I was trying to explain my feeling that it's like walking on the minefield, and you can do wrong steps all the time. And it's really important to be sincere, and also to find that very thin red line that you could not cross. Because if you provoke your characters, if you direct them, uh, it's a big question. Is it still the documentary, or maybe you are shooting the fiction film together with them? So I was trying to stay as a, I don't know, fly on the wall who just observes this reality. But of course, I realize that we inspired them to many things. And maybe they also changed because people with the camera entered their life and their home.
I mean, you fairly kind of humble as a director, but you must have been careful not to patronize them as one director to another, because that would then shift the balance between the two of you.
Yeah, that's true. And I actually did not do that because Miroslava and Hanna, they were the directors of their own film. And I was just observing how they are doing all that things. But I was trying to keep my mouth closed. Sometimes it was really difficult. And uh, but I remember the moment when I felt very free, when my film was finished and Miroslava still wanted to change the editing of her film.
Mhm.
I felt this freedom to help her, and our editor, he helped her to finish the cut, and that was actually okay. But till that moment when I was shooting them, I was not able to do that.
Mm.
So
But there were some lovely moments in the film where, really you were a film within a film, but your film kind of, was bringing a much more in-depth reading of the situation. For example, kind of, the teachers kind of, scene where she's telling the kids kind of, what to do, and she forgets her lines. And then the little boy starts telling her kind of, the lines, but because the lines was his reality, but that would not be part of Anna's film. But in your film, kind of, brings a different dimension of us understanding the war.
Yes, that is why I guess that was the right decision to use all that footage. But I still had the big question, can I use the footage from their film? So I still have doubts. Was it the right decision or not? But I was trying to avoid actually the same moments, the same footage. But talking honestly, when they decided to make interviews, that was such a big luck for me as director as well. Because when I met them for the first time, I was listening all the time so many different amazing stories about their past, and I did not know how to use it in my film because I decided to avoid talking heads and all that kind of things like interview. But when they were interviewing each other, I had the freedom to observe the process and to use these shots. And that was also a very special day for all of them because, Anna and Miroslava told me later that that was the first moment when they talked sincerely to each other about different things. And I also felt this, and my cinematographer felt the same. When we just started conversations with them, they were laughing and laughing, talking about all that traumatic experiences in their life. And I understand why, because maybe it's some kind of protection. But when they decided to talk to each other in front of the camera, that was actually the moment of when something has changed. I remember Anna's face and her eyes when she was listening to her children. So yes, and maybe you are right that we had this, how to say, more depth to show the process. While her children were talking, we were observing her, how she was listening. And I had a chance to show this to the viewer.
But also, I mean, the scene where she's talking with her daughters about how the necessity and how to show the war. I mean, that's a really interesting scene because it's obvious that the girls didn't seem to think that it was so important in their story. And yet it shows that for the mom, that story is about the war. It never was about anything else. So you are using that space of mom kind of being able to reflect on her own experience and sharing that with the daughters. I mean, that's a very powerful moment. Did you have many like those?
Not really, but these discussions of how should they make the film were one of the most interesting pieces of footage for me and the viewer. I think so, because because that was really something special when these people, when they live just inside of this situation, and at the same time they try to create the way of storytelling. And it's something more about this, because when they tell their stories, it's their way to not to be just victims of this war, but to find their own instruments, their own way to deal with that.
Yeah. And what about you? I mean, as a mom as well as a filmmaker, working with children in a war zone, what did it feel like? I mean, how did you feel in relation to those kids?
I have only one child. I mean, comparing to Hannah, who had 4 during filming, and now she's a mother of 5 children.
Yes.
That was such a big surprise for all of us. But she's a very special and brave woman. And comparing to her, I feel quite, how to say, saved, because my husband helps me a lot, and he's also, how to say, he's a writer, and he knows everything about this life of people with artistic professions. So he gives me the freedom to do everything I want. For example, to go to Donbass and to shoot my films, because that is important for me. And it was really important because I was trying to imagine, to understand what does it mean to be not just a mother of many kids, but also to survive, and to no, surviving is actually the wrong word, because Anna, uh, she's not surviving only. She's trying to fill the lives of her children with joy and all these important things, despite all the circumstances. And that was actually the most important moment for me, because it's not the matter of surviving. She tries to live fully, and she doesn't want to stop her life and the lives of her children in the times of war. So I was inspired by her and this family. So
But what about the physical danger? I mean, I mean, we never see the war in your film, but we certainly hear it. I mean, several moments, kind of, we get kind of, the sound of shelling, kind of, happening. Um, I mean, the kids are still out and about, kind of, playing outdoors, kind of running around. And I mean, were you out and about with them? And did you feel that? You had to protect them, or those kids are so kind of tuned to the situation that they no longer need to be protected by adults in that situation.
Yeah, maybe I should tell a few words about the context and about the place, because the town Krasnohorivka is located in the red zone. I mean, it's located exactly on the line of separation between Ukraine and its occupied territory. So, yes, it's dangerous to live there, but it's not so dangerous comparing to the first 2 years of war. Now people feel quite, mm, how to say, safe. No, that is the wrong word if we are talking about the frontline zone. But if you know the rules of the game, if you know what districts are dangerous and which are not, and if you work under the protection of militaries, I mean the work of filmmakers, and if you know how to behave, it is actually mm, okay. And I did not feel the big danger for me and my crew. But yes, when you come there with your fresh eyes, you feel very confused. And
Scared?
I mean, this reality is really weird because for example, the sound, you hear the sounds of shellings every morning, every night, and when you come there for the first time, you are really scared and you feel not very well. But when you come there again and again, you also get used to this, uh, like these children, for example, who grew up in the times of war, and they know perfectly the character of the sounds of different shellings, and they can tell you, does it sound dangerous or not? And that was really surprising for me when I've started all these trips. But later, you also feel the same, that all these people that live there, they got used to the rules of the game. I mean, the rules of this war. And you also feel that you got used to it.
But getting used to it doesn't mean that you don't get traumatized. I mean, your previous characters was two amazing women. You said kind of suffered from post-traumatic syndrome. So surely, I mean, people living in a war zone most kind of be traumatized, and children growing up in that. I mean, 7 8 years of war, it's a long time to for for children to kind of integrate that. But I mean, your family obviously have found a way of healing themselves through their artwork. I mean, was that kind of unusual? I mean, did people find different strategies?
Talking honestly, I'm sure that they traumatized as well as all other people, because the whole Ukrainian society has this PTSD, and I really feel this. Many people around me are really traumatized, but sometimes we try to pretend that we are not. But I realized that I also traumatized, because everything that I have been doing in the last 7 years, it's somehow connected with the theme of war, because I don't have I mean, I can't do anything else, and that is also a matter of some trauma. And but of course, comparing to the other people, especially who live in the war zone, or who are the veterans of war. It's something different. But yes, different people try to find their own instruments how to heal themselves, because unfortunately, uh, talking about our society, we still don't have the right answers how to deal with all this huge problem. We have too many um, people with PTSD, especially when we are talking about militaries, and we don't have enough programs and some special help for them. So there is a long conversation actually about this.
It was interesting to see that you finished the film with the screening of their film, and you have lovely kind of shots of the women in the family kind of all crying. And I mean, I don't know, maybe it's a wrong interpretation or not, but for me, they were crying because they were realizing kind of actually what their trauma was or what they lived through. I mean, normally, if you see a protagonist kind of watching their films at a premiere, they jump with joy. They kind of or they gossip about each other. Ah, you look fat or you look beautiful or whatever. This is the first time I see kind of a family who's seen themselves on screen kind of crying, and they would have seen that footage many times because they edited it. But the emotion of seeing themselves, surely kind of there's a lot there to unpack.
It's difficult to say what exactly has happened on that premiere, but that was a very special moment for them and for all of us, because this family, they presented the film made which was made by themselves and about themselves, and they premiered it to the people exactly like them. I mean, the people, the neighbors, the friends who live in the same town and who can actually understand what does it mean to live there. So yes, the reactions of the viewers were the most important during that screening. That's why we were actually observing them and not the screen. And it's difficult to say why they were crying or what they were thinking about all these shots. But maybe sometimes it's really important to try to realize what has happened to us. And maybe that was a moment when they had a chance to look at themselves and to have this mirror effect. And also, I want to share some special detail about that screening. I did not use it in our film, but that was a moment when I was standing between the screening hall and the corridor, and I was listening to the sounds of shelling that were used in the film, and at the same time I've heard the real sounds of shellings from outside. And you know, that was such a special crossroad of reality and film. So I did not know how to use it in our cinema, but I can share this with you just to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's reality in parallel, really. That's amazing. Yeah. So, another, sorry, I mean, I'm looking at the clock, kind of,
I, I'm looking, it became dark in my room. Maybe I should try to find some light.
we can still see you. That's fine.
Okay.
I was just going, I mean, you said that Anna's kind of, gave birth to a fifth child. I'm puzzled. Where are the men?
That is a difficult question because I many people asked me actually where the men in this city, in this town, and I did not have a goal to shoot one more film about strong women, but in fact I'm surrounded by them, and it depends on the characters. And when I met this family, when I met this really cool women, because Anna is single and her sister is single, and their mother, who actually passed away this year, but she was also single. And I don't know why it is so, but maybe it's something about Ukrainian reality, not about the reality of these small cities which are in war, where you meet just women, children, and militaries. But it's something about Ukrainian society. For example, I grew up in 90s, so that was a very difficult period of being in my country. And I also remember the strong women that were trying to deal everything and to have everything on their shoulders, since their men felt just confused and lost. But I don't know, it's a difficult question, yes. But regarding to Anna, she's doing well, and yes, she's a single mother of 5 children now, but she's okay.
Well, it looks like there's nothing that she cannot do. I mean, she was able to take care of the kids, the film, the house. And I love it when she told her daughter, "You get bullied, call me. I'll sort them out."
Yeah, yes.
I love that little line. Just call.
That that's why she inspired me so much.
Absolutely. She's kind of really brilliant, kind of, amazing woman. And maybe it shows that when you allow space around women, they do become amazing and powerful, even if they're ordinary.
Yes, but these ordinary people sometimes really, I mean, I realize that everything that I have been writing and shooting in the past years, all these things are about ordinary people, because they are the most interesting people, to be honest. And one of the critics, I really loved this comparison he wrote about Little Women
Mhm.
in the context of our film, or about few Scarlett O'Haras that tried to.
Little Women, definitely. So where they kind of, they write their own plays and, more creativity. And the music also, because they don't just act, they play music. And
Yes,
did you have the
absolutely.
music of the film?
Sorry, again?
The music used in the film, is it not theirs?
It's only their music, because I decided uh, uh, it was a moment when I realized that I don't need the other music made by composer, because they play so many musical instruments, so that was enough.
That's brilliant. But your project became international very quickly, no? I mean, you've got a large range of international finances. How did you move from Ukraine to the international scene with this project?
First of all, I guess we were lucky, because sometimes it's a matter of luck, but also we did many things during the filming of this project, and we applied to different funds, and we've pitched our project at different forums and pitchings, and we found the funding of ITFA Berta Fund. They have supported us twice, and also we found the partner as Lithuanian Film Institute. So yes, that was really cool, because we had some power to make this film properly. And also we participated in different workshops. So that was a very important experience for all of us. And for example, when we participated in incubator for workshop, if you know this.
Yeah, excellent workshop.
Yes, they present and they propose so many possibilities for the projects. And actually, it is very important that they present their projects to very important decision makers on the stage of rough cut. For example, when we had the second session, different programmers from very cool festivals came there. They had a chance to watch our rough cuts and give us some advices. And that was really cool because we met them. And Sally met Harry. I mean, for example, the programmer of Sundance Film Festival, I guess so. He liked us from the very beginning because we built that connection already on the stage of that meeting at Doc Incubator. So later we just had to, I don't know, to connect this.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's so important to take projects to labs and platforms and forums, because that networking is essential to be able to achieve kind of, the finances required to make a good film, really, but also then the distribution.
Yes, that's right. And that is a very difficult work for producers and director as well. Because to be honest, I hate pitchings because you have to sell something that doesn't exist and you have to be very, I don't know, brave and you have to promise people something, but you still don't know what is your film about. And at the same time, it's important because otherwise you are in danger to be invisible. But if you meet different people on on the stage of making the film, you have big chances that they will know you already and your project will be selected later to some.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just before I kind of let other people ask questions, one last question. We have a lot of kind of young filmmakers kind of listening to us. What would you say was the best advice given to you as a filmmaker, if at all?
Oh, that's that's a difficult question. Um, I don't know, maybe the best advice was to trust myself more because it's really easy to get lost when you have too many advices from different sides, from different people, and all these professional tutors and other filmmakers. But you still have to listen yourself very carefully. And it's difficult, especially when you get so contrast opinions about your project, but we have to survive. And yes, but it's difficult to say this as the advice because I still don't know how does it work. I mean, I'm just trying to do my best and to listen myself.
I guess that's an advice in itself. Listening to yourself, following your instinct is very important.
Yes, especially when you really get so contrast opinions about the same project. It helps you to realize that there is no true. It's just the matter of the angle and perspective.
Yeah. But that angle and perspective matters because it's where we can create a space for to reflect on what's happening. Otherwise, we'll just stick to news and newspapers. But we need more than that. We need that cinematic space to exist, really. Thank you, Iryna. Alex, can you take us through the questions on the chat room?
Yes, of course. We have a few questions. One of them is from Megan. She said that you talked about this a bit already, but yeah, you must have had a lot of footage. How did you choose when to film, when to stop, and what to use?
Actually, we did not have a lot of footage. We had only 55 hours of footage. It's not too many comparing to the other projects that I know, because usually I don't like to shoot everything around me, and I'm trying to decide what is important and what is not. But from the very beginning, it was really difficult to know what lines we are following, because it was easy to get lost, and I had too many ideas. For example, I had a chance to make a movie only about the family and about their routine life in the times of war. Or, for example, I had a possibility to change the idea and to shoot the film about the strong single mother, or some other ideas. But I remember the moment I was talking to one of the tutors at ITFA summer school. We also participated there. And this filmmaker, Alona van der Horst, she was the first who told me, you have a very special footage, because these people, they are shooting videos by themselves. And that is your way that you can follow and show their life from the very special perspective. So that was a very good advice, and she helped me to realize that maybe I should focus more on that line. But still, it was really difficult to know when I should uh, switch on the camera and where should I mean, it's always the matter of that here and now. And the main luck for the documentary filmmaker is the ability to understand what is important and what is not. But actually, yes, I told already that it was really useful to edit in parallel to shootings. So we had a chance to work on our mistakes.
How did you communicate with your DOP? I mean, did you always have the camera kind of, ready to film, or did you actually kind of, become very formalized and say, okay, now we are filming? How did you communicate?
I was very lucky to meet this cinematographer. His name is Vyacheslav Tsvitkov, and he's a very talented person. He doesn't like to talk much, but I mean, he's a very silent person who perfectly feels the moment and who knows when the camera should be turned on. So sometimes I had the feeling that we even did not have to communicate, because it was enough just to look at him and he understood perfectly what I mean. But of course, it depends on time that we spent together. For example, when we just started to work on this film, and that was the first time when I worked with him in my life, we tried different things. For example, even if we are talking about the visual character of our film, first we were shooting all the footage with handheld and very close to the characters. But later we realized, him and me, that static, calm shots work much better. And I'm not sure that I can explain why. Maybe because our characters, they try to create their special world, their stable heaven inside of their house, while the other world is made of chaos and I don't know, all that terrible things outside of their house. And maybe we were trying to uh, convey the core of this routine life, of this calm life, even in the times of war. That's why we decided to shoot everything in static shots. And sometimes it was not really easy because we had to be very well prepared. But we were trying to prepare some moments. For example, this emotional moment when Anna and Miroslava get know that she entered the film school. It was very well prepared by us. I mean, we were waiting for this moment and we were shooting and shooting and shooting. But as to the other moments, we were just going intuitively. I don't know. It's difficult to explain.
But also, when you're in a situation where you're staying with the family and you become friends with the family, where are the boundaries between kind of, when you are a friend and when you are the director?
Huh, that is the most difficult question. I still don't have any answer because as to my, I think that many directors do the same thing. They lose the boundaries and it's really difficult to be distant because if you come to someone's life, if you enter this world, I don't know how is it possible to be just the observer and actually it's everything about relationships and yes, but it's still the question where are that lines that could not be crossed. But we are still the friends. For example, I mean, me and this family, and we are in contact almost all the time with Hannah. So I don't know. Maybe all of my characters become my family too. That is the style of my filmmaking.
A growing family.
Yeah.
Alex, shall we carry on? Sorry.
Yes, we have a question from Shelley asking what is the meaning of the name? I'm guessing the title of the film.
That is a quote from Paul Eluard's poetry, and that was a bright example of surrealism in art. And I was trying to find some poetic title because when I was coming again and again to this war zone, to Donbas region, at first I had the feeling that I see a lot of weird, gloomy poetry in this region. And when I'm talking about surrealism and poetry, I mean some combinations of incompatible things. Because when you observe the civil people who used to live there in the frontline zone, and when you see them with your fresh eyes, you see how weird is this being. And for example, just a simple example, when I was a tutor and at one of that cinema camps for children, when I came there for the first time, we had a moment when we presented some pieces from Bertolucci's movies to kids, to teenagers. And at the same time, we've heard the sounds of shellings from outside, and these children, they did not pay any attention to it because it's something very routine. They just don't care about this. But that was such a strange crossroads of different parallel dimensions of cinema and real life. And also, as to my opinion, our film is full of that moments. For example, one of my favorite shots is when two girls in beautiful dresses after the school prom take picture in front of their shelled school, and at the same time you see the military trucks behind them, and they don't really pay attention to it because they got used to all this I don't know, military reality. But we had so many moments like that, I guess we did actually quite poetic film. So I found this poetic title.
And you managed to bring the landscape in a very poetical way, considering that, again, we in a war zone. So even the landscape helps kind of creating that, yeah, surrealism to the place.
Yes, because the nature is so beautiful there. But when you see and admire some beautiful field with, for example, red poppies, you should still remember that it could be the minefield, or you could be watched by snipers. And yes, that is a very special place, actually. And at the same time I fell in love with that is true, because Donbass is beautiful, and maybe I had a chance to understand this during the filming.
Great.
We have another question from Dean, who is asking, who's saying, I was surprised to see the footage with the soldiers acting around the tank, and then in the footage, both on top and inside the tank. How difficult was it to get this opportunity?
uh, our children, when they created the script for the short film, they were discussing that they had the situation in the past when militaries helped them to find medicine. But when they were discussing this moment, one of them told, but it's impossible to shoot this scene because militaries won't never help us. And that was a moment also when I told them, oh, come on, maybe we should ask them, or maybe we can help you somehow. And I was really glad that I introduced these children to the militaries in the town, because we were connected with them and they helped us also to shoot there. And in fact, all these boys and girls, I mean militaries who serve there, they often feel very bored, and they were really happy to help these children to shoot the amateur short film. But I remember how they were impressed, I mean the family, that these militaries are so nice and open guys. So, that was also the very nice moment, because I connected somehow these parallel dimensions. I mean, militaries and civil people who exist so close to each other, but who never had a chance to talk to each other, or to, I don't know, have some connections. So that was one also of my favorite shooting days, when that military guys helped the children to shoot the scene.
And another question, was it a conscious decision not to show any footage of the building that was damaged at the beginning?
I'm not sure that I've got which one. If you are talking about the scene at the beginning when the mine fell into the neighbor's house, we actually have few shots with the damaged house, but it was not our goal to show more. And also maybe I need to tell a few words about this scene. That is the only one scene that have been shot not by us, but by our colleagues, because they were also the guests of this family 1 year before us. They also came there because they knew these girls from cinema camp, and they considered to shoot them, but luckily to me, they they didn't. But when they came there, it was the big shelling the same night, so they had the possibility to shoot something. And later they shared this footage with us. And at first I did not want to use it because it looks differently and it is shot stylistically in the other way. But when we participated in one of the workshops, different people told us that they miss the context of war and they don't actually understand that the war is still going on in Ukraine. So I decided to use this footage and to explain somehow to the foreign viewers that it's still dangerous to live there, and you never know when the mine could fall into neighbors or your house. But generally, I did not want to focus too much on war footage in my film because I think that our film tells about some other things actually.
Yes, thank you. We also have someone is joining us from Mexico actually, and is asking if the film is available to watch in other parts of the world, because our screening is available only in the UK. But if if the film is screening somewhere else.
The film still has its festival life, and we are lucky. This life is quite rich. The film was selected by more than 70 different film festivals. So as I understand, we still don't use it on some platforms. Oh, my son came. Sorry. But later, I guess we will have more possibilities to present it on different platforms. But at the moment, it is only shown in the, how to say, terms of different festivals and something like that.
Yeah, so just keep an eye if there are any festivals in Mexico or in your region, perhaps where the film might show. And there's also a really nice comment from Anne, who's saying that she loves your visual language. There were so many beautiful moments that spoke 1,000 words, like the scene where she got the photograph. We knew that what she meant, and her boyfriend had broken up. No words needed to be spoken. And these moments made the film so compelling. Thank you for this
Thank
comment.
you.
And I think that's the end of the questions in the chat, but we do have time for a couple more questions. So yeah, feel free to ask in the chat or unmute yourself.
Well, maybe you can tell us about what next, Iryna.
At the moment, I'm editing my new film. Yes, this is my debut fiction full-length film, and I'm really glad that I did it finally, because I was not brave enough before to shoot such a big film. But The Earth is Blue as an Orange has helped me to believe in myself. So last year I pitched and I won this project in the Ukrainian State Film Agency. And this will be the coming of age story about the boy who grows up in Ukraine in 90s. And this film is based on the novel of Ukrainian writer and my husband. So it's family business. But I really appreciate the chance to talk about our childhood because now we are adults and we can look back and try to imagine what did it mean to be the teenager in 90s in Ukraine. And also this story is still a little bit connected with the theme of war, because one of the main lines of this film is about the friendship of the protagonist with his grandmother's boyfriend. He was a veteran of Afghan war, and he had PTSD, but at the same time he was very charismatic and interesting person. And by the way, that is the real. This story is based on the true story, true material. That is my husband's actually life. So, talking about the past, we still have a chance to talk about our life today.
But you've completely shifted into the male world then.
Yes, that is true. And by the way, one of the main roles was played by our son. So yes, it's still the family business, but it was very interesting to have to work with the protagonist, the boy, and yes, to talk about boy and man. So that is some other, how to say, experience, something really new for me.
So if the film is a success, as I'm sure it deserves to be, you're going to have to cope with your son kind of, developing a big ego.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know if you remember kind of many years ago, Marcel kind of Lozinski, when he did the first film with his son, and his son was recognized everywhere in the streets, kind of, and started demanding things from his parents, kind of saying, hey, I've earned you a lot of money. So
Are you talking about Pavel Lozinski?
yes.
And it was also the interesting project when they filmed. When they had that road trip together, Lozinski and his father, and they did two different films about the same trip.
And
So,
journey, brilliant.
so who knows? Maybe my son will become the director too, and he will tell the world that his mother was
Traumatized him.
yes.
Well, meanwhile, kind of hopefully you'll have a wonderful holiday to recover from all this work together.
Yeah, but talking honestly, it's really difficult to work with your family because you should balance between your director's and mother's role. And also, it's really interesting to return to the experience of making fiction films. And now I can compare, and it's difficult to say what I love more, because these both things are really great. But if I feel, when you shoot fiction, you are the god, because you can do everything. You can create any story, you can use any characters, and you can actually tell them what to do and to do so many takes as it is necessary. But when you are shooting documentary films, the god is the real life, and it's a pure magic. So it's really difficult to decide what I like more. And I hope I will shoot more documentaries in my future.
I always think that to be taken by surprise by reality, there's nothing which comes any near kind of, that wonderful feeling.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes it proposes you so many unpredictable gifts, and I like the most of all that moments of here and now and real life.
Yeah. Well, on those kind of magical words, I think we're coming to the end of this session. So unless we've got any new questions, no? Alex?
Could I ask? I'm really interested what you said about the editing along with while you're filming, and how the two relate in terms of how it affects your sort of your shooting style. Do you look up when you've done a sequence, or do you look at how how it's come out and then decide whether you need to do it again? What how does that work in terms of how it affects your sort of workflow?
Oh.
just just vaguely.
No.
I don't be too intrusive. Sorry.
Generally, the process of editing was one of the most interesting and the most difficult for me and my editor, because when you edit documentary film, you can go so many ways and you can make your puzzle in so many different ways again. So it needs time, and I'm very glad that we had that time. We had 9 months of editing, and also it was really helpful for me that we participated in few workshops, and different tutors helped us to look at our own footage with fresh eyes, because it's the most difficult to still to feel something, to understand something about your footage when you watch it again and again. But I even don't know what to say, because we were going this way so intuitively, and I'm not sure that the experience of one film helped me to realize what is my method or my way of shooting and editing. I'm still trying to find the answers, and I love this process, to be honest. Maybe the editing is even my favorite process of making the film.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have no other questions in the chat. So with this, I'd like to thank you very much, Iryna, for the masterclass and for the film, sharing the film with us. And thank you very much, Noe, for moderating this conversation. Thank you very much, all of you, for attending today. And the film is still available to watch until Sunday, this Sunday. So I hope you get a chance to do so until then. And yeah, have a good rest of the day, and hope to see you around at other document events as well.
Thank you. And see you soon in Scotland.
Oh, I hope so. I dream about true offline meetings with real people because the last year was so weird. I've met so many people around the globe, but just through Zoom. But I hope this crazy world will open its doors for all of us again.
Well, we have some good festivals. Kind of Edinburgh Film Festival should be in August. Who knows? Hopefully, maybe your fiction will be ready on time.
I hope so. Okay. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.